Hi, I'm Amy Kamarainen. I'm the Executive Director here at Salmon Coast Field Station. Salmon Coast has been monitoring the health of wild juvenile salmon in the Musgamagw Dzawada'enuxw territories since 2001. The goal of our work is to monitor the number of parasitic sea lice that we find on wild juvenile Pacific salmon as they outmigrate past a number of open net pen Atlantic salmon aquaculture sites. One distinguishing factor of Salmon Coast is that we use live sea licing methods. This means we capture the fish alive and document the number of lice on those fish, then return them to the waters from which they'd come. It's really important to know before you start this kind of work that you must have a fishing license to collect wild salmon. You can sometimes use a recreational fishing license, which do have catch limits, or if you are a researcher or affiliated with a community organization or some kind of biological consultant, you would want to look into getting a scientific fishing license, which are regulated by the Fisheries and Oceans Canada. We would like to show you our method of sea licing so that you can monitor wild salmon yourself. So it's really important that someone on your team is skilled in identifying the wild Pacific salmon that are found in your area. Of the 5 Pacific salmon that are found on the coast, in our area, we primarily find pink and chum salmon. They're the most common in this area, but they're also interesting because they are the smallest salmon as they outmigrate from their rivers, and they're also very vulnerable to the effects of sea lice. So when you're out in your boat looking for salmon to catch, you might find them schooling up near the shore. You'll look for signs of dimpling, of them coming to the surface, or maybe even jumping near the shoreline. The distinguishing factors for chum salmon are they have parr marks on their bodies, which are vertical bands. They have spotted backs, and their caudal fins have a black line or ridge at the tail end. The characteristics that distinguish pink salmon from the others are that they don't have any parr marks, and they have very shimmery or silvery sides. They also have peppery caudal fins that lack a black line at the fork. Sea lice are marine ectoparasites that naturally occur on many species of fish. Sea lice feed on the outside of fish, primarily attaching to the skin, gills, or fins of the fish. Sea lice are a type of copepod, and they molt through several life stages. The 2 main species of sea lice that affect salmon in British Columbia are Lepiothopterus salmonis and Caligus clemensi. To be more efficient as we're collecting the data, we refer to these species as leps and cals. We should be careful not to confuse the species Caligus, called cal, with the Haxwa'mis life stage that is common to both species. When the sea lice affect the wild salmon or attach to their skin, gills, and fins, they can leave marks on the fish in the form of CS, calamus scars, MS, motile scars, or moat scars, PB, pinched belly, H, hemorrhaging. We also document other signs of the health of the fish. These might include PS, predator scars, BB, blue blotches, H, hemorrhaging. So here are the things we need to take with us when we go out on the boat. 6 data sheets, 5 pencils, 1 data board, 1 pair of scissors, 5 Ziploc bags, 5 16 times magnifying hand lenses, 4 aquarium dip nets, 5 5-gallon buckets, 1 sea lice identification guide, 1 measuring board, 1 YSI conductivity meter, 1 seine net, 1 bailer, 2 aquarium bubblers, 2 spare batteries, 1 refractometer and 1 thermometer, 1 compass, 1 satellite communications device, 1 fishing license, safety gear that you should always have on the boat, 1 phone with navigation software, 1 charging cord and adapter for the phone, 1 watch, a full fuel tank, net mending twine, and 1 anchor. Before we leave, we send an email or call to the Fisheries and Oceans Canada office. We're required by our permit to inform them where we're sampling, when we're sampling, and what we're planning to catch that day. For safety purposes, we send a full sail plan to someone else at the station. The sail plan includes information about where we're planning to go, how long we plan to be there, and when we'll be back. Then we fill our boat with our gear. We fill out the boat log, both on the boat and the one that's in our life jacket locker. And then we get everyone into the boat and head out. Before seining, we document the site name, the site code, the date, the time, the people who are involved in the sampling that day, the weather, the tides, whether they're high, mid, or low. We use the YSI to capture data on the temperature and the salinity at the surface of the water. At the site, we look for the fish and hope to see a school of juvenile salmon. You can look for dimpling or the school of fish just under the surface. When we see that, we get out the net and we try to capture those fish that we've seen. When we're putting the net in the water, we pay attention to the tides and the currents that might be affecting where the net will go. And we also look for underwater obstacles. So once we see signs of a school of salmon on the shoreline, we drop one person off on the shore with one end of the net. We use the boat to draw out the rest of the net to encircle the school of fish that we found. We drop a second person off on shore, then the 2 people haul in the net together. The net's forming a U shape. The second person on land slaps the surface of the water with the hauling line to ensure that none of the fish escape through that gap as the net's pulled in. As they're hauling in the net, they need to be very careful that the lead line comes in slowly and forms a nice bunt. The lead line needs to be low so that the fish can't escape through the bottom of the net. Also, as they pull in the lead line and form the bunt, it's important to not have any folds in the net, which can either capture the fish in those folds or might rub off some of the lice. It's also important that the bunt is big enough so that the fish can swim freely in the bunt as it's being pulled in And finally, it's important to set that bunt in deep enough water so that you have space for those fish. To transfer the fish to the boat for sea lice analysis, we fill a 5-gallon bucket partially with seawater, and then we use a dip net to scoop the fish out of the bunt into the bucket. So we monitor the fish for signs of stress. This might include darkened skin, slow swimming, or swimming near the surface of the water. If we notice signs of stress, things that you can do is you can add fresh seawater, you can reduce the number of fish, or you can add an oxygen bubbler into the bucket. When we're out in the field, we usually assign different tasks to different team members. So those tasks might include the data recorder, the person who's dipping and measuring the fish, and the person who's identifying the sea lice. The person who's dipping fish scoops a fish out of the bucket and puts it into a Whirl-Pak bag with a small amount of seawater. It's important to do this in a haphazard way, in a way that you're not targeting particular fish. Once you have the fish in the small bag with seawater, it can be measured. We measure its height and its fork length. These measurements are recorded on the data sheet by the data recorder. Then the plastic bag with the fish in it is passed to the person who will be doing the sea lice identification. This person examines the fish using a 16-power hand lens and looks for and identifies any lice on the surface of the fish. For each louse we detect on the fish, we record its life stage and its species. We try to sample 50 fish of each species, and when we capture a school of fish in the bunt, we try to estimate the number of fish in that school, as well as the species composition of the school. We always try to minimize the stress and handling of the fish. There are times that incidental mortalities can occur. We document those on our data sheet as well. The rest of the fish are released into the water near the site where we captured them. We hope that this video has shown how simple and accessible these sea lice monitoring methods can be. This research can be carried out by anyone who has a boat, some basic tools, the appropriate license, and a little bit of training.